Hello guys, this is Mahnoor and my topic is about hypothalamus. So let's begin. Hypothalamus is an integral part of the brain and it is a small cone-shaped uh, organ situated above the pituitary gland and a pituitary stalk, as you can see here in the diagram. And it is located below the thalamus and the third ventricle, the third cerebral ventricle. And I'll talk about the borders shortly. Just observe the exact position of the hypothalamus in these diagrams so it is easier for you. Uh, Also notice how in this diagram the hypothalamus is divided into different parts, the anterior, medial and the posterior parts, and mammillary bodies are sometimes also considered as part of the hypothalamus. And these this diagram will help you remember the borders. I'll just talk about them shortly. Okay, so the anterior border of the hypothalamus is the anterior commissure, as you can see in this picture. This is the hypothalamus. This is the anterior side, and lamina terminalis and anterior commissure are the anterior borders. Posteriorly, you can find mammillary bodies and the cerebral aqueduct of Sylvius over here. And inferiorly, you find the pituitary gland and the pituitary stalk, as I already mentioned, and the tuberous cinerarium, which is not so clear in this diagram, but I will show you in the next few slides. And superiorly are the thalamus and the choroid plexus of the third ventricle, as I mentioned earlier. So these are the anatomical borders of the hypothalamus. So this is the inferior view of the hypothalamus. If you look at the brain from down, this is what you will see, and this is the optic chiasm and the tuberous cinerarium, like I mentioned, it's inferior to hypothalamus. So behind this, that means like superior to this is the hypothalamus, and you can see part of mammillary bodies in this picture, and of course the cerebral peduncles and the posterior perforated substances, which are also part of the posterior border of the hypothalamus. So this is a picture from a different view from the inferior view, just to give you more details and more anatomy of the hypothalamus. So for hypothalamus, like I mentioned, is it's a very important part of the brain, and that is because it has many functions, which is like almost controlling the whole of the body. So it is involved in thermoregulation, food intake, body water content, center for autonomic nervous system, reproduction and milk production, and the circadian rhythm, and of course the sex drive and emotions. So we will see how each of these are controlled, because hypothalamus basically controls all of these through a specific set of hormones, which I will show you soon. And most of those hormones are passed down to the pituitary gland, and which further controls the release of another set of hormones. Okay, so these are the hormones produced by the hypothalamus. The first one is corticotropin releasing hormone. This is involved in the body's response to physical and emotional stress, and it signals the pituitary gland to produce a hormone called ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone, which further stimulates the production of cortisol, which is an important stress hormone. So this is the function of CRH, released from hypothalamus. The next is TRH, thyrotropin releasing hormone. It stimulates the pituitary gland to produce the thyroid stimulating hormone, which goes to the thyroid gland. The next is the gonadotropin releasing hormone, which causes the pituitary gland to produce important reproductive hormones like FSH and LH. This hormone controls like many sexual and emotional behaviors, and also maternal behavior. This hormone is very important in the process of childbirth and lactation. Uh, the next is oxytocin. Oxytocin is again one of the sex hormones, and it's needed for mating and also for release of milk uh, from the milk ducts uh, in the female breast. Next is the vasopressin, which is also known as ADH, antidiuretic hormone. This hormone really regulates water levels in the body, and it signals when it is released, it signals the kidneys to absorb more water, so that there is no shortage of water in the body. And the next one is somatostatin, which basically directs the pituitary gland to stop the production of major hormones like growth hormones and thyroid stimulating hormones. This is to stop some of the metabolic processes going on in the body. Additionally, I would like to also mention that oxytocin and vasopressin ADH are basically passed down to the posterior pituitary, the neurohypophysis, and then they're released from there. And most of the hormones released from hypothalamus basically go to the pituitary gland, and they direct the pituitary gland to do the next set of functions. Next is the vasculature of the hypothalamus. So, in the vasculature, the hypothalamus is basically mainly supplied by the superior hypophyseal artery, which is a part of the anterior cerebral artery. And all of the blood from the hypothalamus is drained down to the pituitary gland through the hypothalamo-hypophyseal system, and then from the pituitary gland the blood is drained into the hypophyseal vein, and this is how the vasculature of the hypothalamus works. Last is the clinical relevance of the hypothalamus, the disorders and syndromes associated with it. So basically the first one and very common one is the central diabetes insipidus. This is a rare autoimmune disorder where the uh, immune system is damaging the hypothalamus, and this results in a lack of ADH hormone, which results in causing more frequent peeing and more need for water, so increasing the thirst. Because ADH, if you remember, it is an important hormone of acting on the kidneys for the absorption of water. But if it's not there because of the central diabetes insipidus, then there is frequent peeing and more the thirst increases, so there's more need of water in the body. Next is the Prader-Willi syndrome, which is a rare inherited disorder. It causes the hypothalamus to not register basically when someone is done eating. So basically, it results in the person wanting more and more food, increasing the urge to eat more, and this increases the risk of obesity, and then which also results in slower metabolism and decreased muscle mass. And the last one is the Coleman syndrome, which is again a hypothalamic dysfunction, which can lead to delayed puberty, or not no puberty at no puberty at all, and there's no sense of smell. So basically, from this syndrome, you can have an idea. That Coleman syndrome is probably due to some dysfunctioning or absence of the GnRH hormone from the hypothalamus. So these are the three main disorders of the hypothalamus. There are many more, but I wanted to highlight the three most important ones right now. So this is about hypothalamus, and that's it. Thank you so much.